Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a look at my February 2024 TBR. If you're interested in seeing what books I want to read this month, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, this video is going to be a look at my February 2024 TBR. I know that I am filming this video very late. I'm actually filming it on February 16th. And at this point, I don't actually know when it's going to be posting on YouTube. And if you're curious as to why this video and some other January recap videos are going up late in the month of February, I did do a little bit of a life update in my January 2024 reading recap video. I will be honest, we're more than halfway through the month of February and I have not finished a single book on my February TBR, and I'm actually very okay with that. Right now, I really do feel like I need to just be mood reading. I need to just be picking up books that are intriguing to me, that are interesting me, that I'm being drawn to. And right now, that's not necessarily the books that are on my TBR. I think I'm going to give a little bit more detail as we go through these books, but obviously you'll get a lot more detail in early March when I post my February 2024 reading recap. So the first book that we're going to talk about that's on my TBR is a book that I was fortunate enough to receive a review copy of from William Morrow Publishing, and that is The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. This book actually just came out on February 13th. I did receive it, I believe, in January. I wanted to pick it up very early in February to read it before it released, and that just unfortunately did not happen. I do still really want to try and get to this book before the end of the month. I want to read one fantasy book per month in 2024, and I was planning on this being that book. So it is still a goal of mine to finish this, to read this, to get to this, to finish this. I just have not been in a fantasy mood so far this month, so I have not picked it up yet. The next book that we're going to talk about is a book that I received a digital arc of through NetGalley, and that is Ellie, Haycock is Totally Normal by Gretchen Schreiber. Now, I did actually pick this book up already, and I think I got about 35% of the way through it and decided to DNF it. I'm actually very happy that I did that. In that point in the month, I was really feeling like I could very easily fall into a book slump, and I think that deciding to DNF this book was what caused me to not fall into a book slump. I requested this loving the cover and not caring that it was young adult, but I don't read a ton of young adult, and I think that I'm finding that the young adult that I read and like tends to skew more mature young adults, and in the first 35% of this story, I found it was skewing very immature young adults, very young adults, and that just really was not working for me. So I did decide to DNF this. I won't be reading this month, but I'm okay with that. It was definitely the right decision for me at that time. The next book that we're going to talk about is another book that I received an arc of. This book came to me from Forge Publishing, so thank you so much to them for this. And that is Such a Lovely Family by Aggie, Blum, Thompson. I immediately fell in love with the cover of this when I saw this online, and I was beyond excited to receive an arc of this. This comes out in March. I want to say March 5th, but I could be wrong about that exact date. I know that this is a mystery thriller. From the title, I'm assuming it's a familial story, and I've actually really enjoyed the family-based mystery thriller books that I've read in the past. I am very hopeful that I will get to this in the month of February. I definitely want to try to read it before it comes out in March, and I feel like I could be in a mystery thriller mood, so I'm hoping that I pick this up this month to give this a read. The next book that we're going to talk about is a book that's actually in my 24 books in 2024 challenge. That is a challenge that I made for myself to try and primarily get through some books that were on my physical TBR. This is a book that I have heard nothing but incredible things about. I had picked it up and just hadn't gotten around to reading it, and definitely want to read it. And that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Again, this book has showed up on so many best books of lists. I've seen so many people talk about this book. I have heard nothing but fantastic things about this book. It is definitely one that has always intrigued me, and I've always known that I wanted to pick up and read. I just haven't gotten around to it. I will be honest though, I do not know that I'm going to read this month. Again, I'm very much feeling like I need to be reading things that are really pulling me in, that I'm feeling very drawn to. And I don't know that this type of story is one that I'm feeling drawn to right now. And I don't want to pick this up at the wrong time and then not end up liking as much as I could have. I've also heard that this book, I think there's a medical aspect to this book. And I don't know that I want a book focused on that right now. Ellie Haycock is totally normal, has a large medical aspect to it as well, and that could very well have been part of why I wasn't enjoying that story at the time that I was reading it. But so I'm not sure that I'm going to get to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow this month, or if I'm just going to leave it for another month, but it is on my February 2024 TBR. The next book that we're going to talk about is another book that is on my 24 books in 2024 challenge. This is also a book that I could use to apply to my nonfiction reading challenge, where I'm trying to read 6 nonfiction books this year. And that book is Have I Told You This Already? Stories I Don't Want to Forget to Remember by Lauren Graham. I love Lauren Graham. I've loved Gilmore Girls. I've loved Parenthood. I read her fiction book, Someday Maybe, years ago and really enjoyed it. I have not read any nonfiction from Lauren Graham, but anytime I've ever seen her in any type of interview, I have thought she's absolutely hysterical and just so much fun to watch and to listen to. So when I saw that she had released this book, I picked it up pretty quickly, but I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. And since I want to make nonfiction something that I dive into a little bit more this year, this seemed like a perfect thing to add to my 24 in 2024 challenge. I did actually start reading this book a few days ago. I don't think it's one that I'm going to be able to just sit and read through. I think that I'm going to have to kind of read this in between other books. And I was in between books. I wanted to start this, so I did end up reading the introduction and one essay. This is short essays. And so I've read this much of the book. Definitely still have a ways to go. But with nonfiction books, if they're in essay format, which is what I tend to like, I find that reading them slowly between other books tends to work best for me. And so I have started this. I'm intrigued. I want to keep reading it. I don't know that I'll finish it by the end of February, just because I am kind of picking and choosing when I give it a read, but I'm hopeful that I will, since I started it already. The last book that is on my TBR for February 2024 is my Instagram challenge book for the month of February. For the last few years, I've been doing an Instagram challenge where every month I read one book that was recommended to me by someone on Instagram. And the book for February is going to be The Other Mothers, and that was recommended by @KimLynn18. I have actually heard of this book. I've seen this book in the bookstore. I've actually almost purchased it a couple of times. And so when this was recommended, I knew I absolutely needed to add it to my Instagram challenge. I believe this is mystery thriller that's at least the vibe that the title and the cover was giving to me. Definitely intrigued and interested in reading this one. I do really want to force myself to be dedicated to my Instagram challenge. I have always attempted to read every single book on my Instagram challenge in the years that I've done it in the past. There have been a couple of DNFs in those challenges. I think last year I had 2. The year before I might have had 1, but I always attempt them. And I have found some of my favorite books that way, some incredible 5-star reads that way. So I always want to attempt the book. And with it being more than halfway through the month and me just like feeling like I need to focus on mood reading, I'm hoping that I start feeling like I'm in a mystery thriller mood, because if I am, I will pick this one up first before Such a Lovely Family, just so that I can hopefully stick with my Instagram challenge and complete my Instagram challenge for the month of February. But we will see what happens. If I'm not feeling drawn to a mystery thriller this month, I will absolutely attempt to read it next month. So that's going to be it for my February TBR. Definitely a little bit of a different video for me with regards to TBR videos. I've never filmed one this late in the month. And yeah, I mean, we are more than halfway through February, and I have actually only finished 3 books this month. I finished 3 books. I DNF'd 1 book after getting 35% of the way into it. So I'm not reading as much as I normally would. I've had other life stuff happening. I'm still loving reading. I'm just being very particular about what I'm reading right now. I did start a new series, and it really sucked me in, and I'm so glad I started it when I did, because I think I needed it. And I'm just feeling so compelled to continue with the series that I am almost done with the 3rd book in the series right now, and I think I am going to end up picking up the 4th book in the series after I finish it. So that, again, is part of why I haven't gotten to the books on my TBR yet, but I think it's just the right thing for me right now, and I'm totally okay with that. If you have read any of the books that are on my TBR and want to leave some spoiler-free thoughts, please don't hesitate to put a comment down below. I love chatting with people about books. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. I do have a link down in the description box with my Amazon favorites. That is an affiliate link. But if you go on to my Amazon favorites, you will see that I do have a section that has my TBR books on it. I change that list every month once my TBR video posts here on YouTube. So if you're watching this, you could go on there and you'd see all of the books that are on my February TBR. I also have a separate section where I have books that I'd recommend, a lot of which are books that were on previous TBRs, but also books that I read before I started making book videos here on YouTube. So that is always available to you in my Amazon favorites, which again is linked down below in the description box. As always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.